Ross Ulbricht is serving a double life sentence without parole for all nonviolent charges for creating a website. Please help free this peaceful man. Go to freeross.org and sign and share the petition.
So it's little wonder that smart shoppers everywhere take time out to pause and refresh. And where else but in the fountain where they serve ice-cold Coca-Cola?
The eMilitia Podcast, Episode 37, Pete Raymond, Free Man Within the Walls. Enjoy, fuckers.
Hello, and welcome to the eMilitia Podcast. Today we're going to be sitting down with Pete Raymond of the Free Man Beyond the Wall podcast to talk about the current epidemic fears in terms of how government is clamping down in various ways just on our day-to-day life. So I'm Bloody Revolutions, and with me is Empress of Meme, Rebellious Liberty, and Resurrecting Freedom. Hi Pete, welcome to the show.
Thanks for inviting me on.
Oh, of course, it's a pleasure. How are things where you're at? Is it getting nuts or?
Nah, not really. I mean, I went to the store today, and I have this secret supermarket that I go to that always has stuff. Well, Finally today I went there and they were out of everything that I wanted, but I went to my regular supermarket and they had everything I wanted. So it was like Bizarro World Day.
Yeah. Where I'm at, it's currently people like the Asian supermarkets are delighted because people are just finally discovering them. All the little niche supermarkets.
That's what I was talking about. I go to a Korean marketplace.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Everyone's abandoning the big box chains. Where I'm at, it's so in Arizona, people might have seen they've just clamped down on alcohol. So all of our bars are closed currently, and I do a lot of advertising for bars, so things are getting interesting. And apparently it's starting to happen all over the place. But yeah, all sorts of arbitrary restrictions coming in. Do you think any of them are going to help, or just across the board madness?
From everything I've read, this is an illness that is affecting people over 80, who are older, infirmed, or people who have pre-existing lung problems. Ron Paul talked on his show today about his county had their first death from it. The person was 95 years old. So really what they should be doing is they should be doing everything they can to protect, people in that age range, people who are, susceptible to it, and leave everybody else alone. I don't know that I believe everything they're saying. I mean, you can test positive for it and be a carrier. I mean, what is? I don't understand that. That's just. It sounds like something straight out of like a UN drill or something like that. It does.
Oh, dissident, you are sick. You are now going to be quarantined. Just get in the boxcar.
Yeah, and when Idris Elba came out saying that he had it the other day, I was talking with a friend of mine who happens to be black, and he goes, "This sounds like because it wasn't affecting black people, they just decided to say, hey, Idris, since you're part of the Illuminati now, you're this huge star, that you had to do blood oaths or whatever to become, to become one of us. You're going to have to play like you have COVID-19. I mean, and the same thing with the mayor of Miami. It's like, okay, so no Hispanics are coming out, or Spanish people are coming out and saying that they have it. So, let's have some high profile. Yeah, my mind goes right to conspiracies when I'm listening to this because it just doesn't sound rational. I mean, it doesn't. I mean, so some people. I've been sick for 5 days. Okay, I have flu-like symptoms for 5 days, but today I walked up and down the steps with heavy packages 4 or 5 times. I never got out of breath. I have no, I haven't been coughing or anything like that. I'm almost assuming that if I got tested for it, I'd probably end up positive or something like that, even though I have nothing except the normal flu kind of symptoms that I have, like my stomach, and I have that taste in my mouth that you get when you're sick. And I'm just like, what the hell's, I mean, it's like, what is this? It affects some people where they don't have any symptoms whatsoever. It affects other people where it's like, oh, they just feel bad for a couple days, and then it's killing some people. I tend not to trust this.
Yeah, like, and it's very convenient the kind of power grabs they're going for, because they went like full bore, like right out the gate. They're like, oh, people are getting sick with like some flu-like symptoms. Well, we're gonna give the governors power to stop firearm purchases, alcohol purchases. Like, what's that doing to help us? Like,
well, and I know a couple rational people. I mean, I'm talking about good people who are completely rational, who went out and bought their first guns.
Yeah. In
the last couple of days. And it's like, I mean, I never go anywhere without a gun. I mean, very rarely. If I'm traveling, of course, if I got to get on a plane, I'm not going with me. If I go to New York, I can't take one with me. But when I'm in Georgia, I pretty much have a gun with me everywhere. And today I made sure to, when I went out, and it wasn't because, I think the cops are going to start doing something, although it could get to that. But it's, people are so panicked. You don't know if somebody's going to not be able to get toilet paper, and they're going to start freaking out and shooting a place up or something like that. I mean, the press and Washington, D.C., and even the state governments have people freaked out. And it's like, well, why don't we look at who this is actually affecting? I think, Ron Paul's my hero. He's the reason why I'm a libertarian. He's the reason why I'm an anarchist. He's one of the most amazing Americans to ever live. And he's and a doctor. And he's saying, this is just ridiculous. This is so overblown.
See, I saw a hit piece on Ron Paul the other day from, it was some, like, mainstream news saying, like, I gotta find a link. But, right-winger Ron Paul, former Republican, is saying it's all smokescreen and mirrors. And it was just, like, trying to make him out as just some old, crazy, of course, the smear title, conspiracy theorist. On
his show today, he talked about how 2 people in his county have died, but he also laid out exactly why, because they're old. He said, how do you know that a 95-year-old person died of this, or they just died?
Oh yeah, for real. I mean, like, you can not even exaggerating. You can die from complications from like spraining your ankle or stubbing your toe or something at that age. I mean, you get an infection in the wrong place, you're done. You're so fragile. So to say, oh, Corona's getting all these people, like, is it really though?
They could have been on their way out when they got
like every opportunity seems to be taken by politicians at the minute, and part of me's thinking like, well, damn near everyone in public office is susceptible to this thing, so perhaps that's why the fear of this is so high. Like, all of Congress, a lot of our governors are of an age where they're going to be at risk, whereas most of the populace isn't. So I'm wondering if they're like projecting their fears onto us, or if it's something more sinister.
But you don't see them restricting any of their activities.
Well, of course not.
Well, I know y'all saw that meme the other day where Tulsi's walking and she's smiling, and it says, when your 2 opponents are over 70 and the coronavirus is out
there.
Yeah. If only. Yeah.
What do they call it? The Boomer Doomer virus?
Yeah. It's just, well, I mean, 95 years old isn't even boomer. That's like, what do they call that? The silent generation or something?
Is that even beyond Gray's generation? I guess it must be.
I think they call it the silent generation or something like that.
They got a couple names for it, I believe, but yeah, it all falls in the silent.
Yeah, they're going to be very silent soon enough.
Jesus Christ.
That's fucked. yeah, I mean, we're seeing all these power grabs and stuff, and I don't know, like people are. It's all just too convenient, like you've been saying. People whip us up into a frenzy, like, "Oh, it's gonna get you. It's basically smallpox, and we need to shut down all these basic civil liberties, for your protection." And everyone's eating it up. Like I think Emp shared something in our chat today. What was it? Emp, the North Korean thing, like the North Korean, oh no, the Korean War act that Donald Trump was trying to use.
Oh.
I'll put you on the spot. Here we go. Wartime Authority of Defense Production Act. Trump invokes Wartime Authority of Defense Production Act to speed coronavirus aid. And essentially it like gives government jurisdiction over like resources and stuff and kind of puts them at the head of like some private companies and stuff. Or like gives them a lot of authority, kind of like what is it when you take property? Eminent domain.
Yeah, because that's what you want. You want the business you've been running for years and years and maybe decades to be taken over by people who their only accomplishment is that they got elected.
Yeah. You want a popularity contest, now you're going to be bossing around a CEO. Like, cool. Who's already like under stress with the way the economy's going.
A lot of them already failed at those type of endeavors, and that's why they're in politics.
Yeah, I mean, like my intern today was saying like, well, yeah, I mean, the guy's gone bankrupt, and now he's like, oh, yeah, I'm going to be in charge of a bunch of other companies during a time of crisis. Like, not sure that's a great idea, but okay. And then, I mean, that's like kind of fascistic in nature, just, government being in charge of industry. And then you see on my favorite thing is on Twitter, you have all these liberals going, yes, thank you, it's about time. Should have done this so much earlier. It's like, what are you cheering on?
These are people who aren't smart enough to understand that when government runs something, they run it into the ground. That's why the healthcare is so bad in this country, because it's almost completely government controlled. I mean, it's really truly a fascist system. I mean, really, the government is supposed to do like, even if the national defense was something that they wanted to concentrate on, they're not even good at war. I mean, they don't, war is basically just killing people and blowing shit up. They're not even good at that. They can't even do it right. They can't. It's like, oh, we're going to bomb this wedding. Oh, crap. We killed like 100 people, but the person we were after wasn't in there. Oh, darn.
Like, yeah, I don't even have to look back into the history book to see that they're bad at war. Like, we're literally in a war right now. We've been in for 20 years. And they recently came out and were like, yeah, from the beginning, we didn't know what we were doing, but
and we still
not going to get out of it.
Yeah, I mean, Vietnam should have basically said, no war forever, because, I mean, you just... now, and the worst thing about it is now they think that a couple of boots on the ground and just 20,000 drones a year is war. And it's just absolutely insane. It gets to the point where you're like, okay, they know what they're doing. They know that they're creating terrorists, and they just want this to be, a multiplier effect so that, Boeing can keep selling bombs and shit like that.
Yeah, it's things like that like, I really do teeter between, like, conspiracy theorists and, like, everyone in charge are just idiots who won popularity contests. I don't know if I want to call them idiots or lizards. And it's things like this where it's like, they're so incompetent with what they're doing, it's almost malicious. Well, I mean, often it is malicious, but, like, is it purposeful, or are they just, no one pays attention to history, like, recent history? And it's getting to the point where, like, I mean, we're seeing the same thing on the ground now. They're quite happy to say, like, oh, well, martial law's on the table, or, like, they'll basically suggest it in anything but the name martial law. And, like, they don't learn. They just keep on going with it.
Well, I mean, think about it. Why would people rise up against and start protesting this? I mean, the people that are ordering the bombs dropped are the same people who are in charge of the education system. So, you're just taught that, oh, we're at war, and we're going to be at war for generations. I mean, I know Cheney said that back in back in the aughts that the war on terror is one that will probably never be won. So I mean, that just tells you exactly what it was. I mean, that's what logically brought me to Ron Paul in 2007 was he was saying, bring the troops home. And if there's a terrorism problem, just, have them patrol the borders, something like that. I mean, now I look at that and I'm like, I don't know if that's really a good idea and everything. But, I mean, I was a new libertarian at the time. I mean, I didn't really, all I heard was, more freedom and these wars are stupid, and the Federal Reserve. But, now I think just leave these people alone, and they say, oh, well, they'll kill them. They kill themselves. I'm like, okay, then let them do that. I don't. What does that have to do with me?
Why is it our job?
Yeah. Like we're suddenly
if they've been doing that for, centuries or millennia, they would have you believe, then, who are you to stop them?
Well, we're the great American peacekeepers who are here to look after everyone, or that's our God-given duty or something. oh my Christ, the sirens are nuts right now.
Well, I have this theory that the reason why American culture is so violent is because that's the way the country was. The country was founded on violence, and it's just been war after war after war after war after war. So, if a child is raised to see, if a child's raised that government is daddy, and daddy settles his problems by shooting and bombing people, then that's the way people are going to learn to settle their problems. At least, people who are off in the head.
Oh yeah, it's such an intrinsic problem. We even see it in our own community. Like we've been talking about the last few episodes. People are so ready, and the way things are going, everyone's like, oh well, this is the collapse. Let's go start, taking out the government. And it's like, what, through violence, so you can replace them and eventually end up being the new tyrants, just like we were when we booted the Brits out. Start our free society. That's now an empire.
Yeah, I said that about Virginia when they had the march on Richmond, and everybody's talking about the boogaloo and everything, and I'm like, okay, so you boogaloo and you take over the government. What I saw in Richmond, I didn't see people wearing yellow and black. I saw a bunch of statists who, a bunch of statist conservatives mostly, who would institute a police state where, not a police state, but, it would just be your typical conservative bullshit. But, and then everybody was like, oh, the cops and everything. Look, we support the Second Amendment. I'm like, no, they don't. If the ATF comes into that town and tells them somebody in the town, has a sawed-off shotgun or has a, a select fire, AK or something like that, the cops are going to back them. They don't look at, they're not thinking, some cops may think that, the NFA or, the Gun Control Act of 1934, which, meant that you had to register machine guns and suppressors and everything. Some of them may think that's stupid, but they're not going to stop enforcing that. I mean, they may be pro Second Amendment, but they're not really. They're like half pro Second Amendment. So Second Amendment to me is having an F-14 with Hellfires on it.
They're pro Second Amendment until you have half a joint in your car and a gun.
Yeah.
And then you're going to jail.
Yeah. I mean, I said when I first became a libertarian and I was looking around and I'm like, all right, how can we make this work and everything? I'm like, if the gun people and the drugs people could just get together, they could get shit done. But unfortunately, some of the gun people hate the drug people, and some of the drug people hate the gun people. So that seems to be a non-starter. And and I've heard anarchists say, oh well, if you own guns and you smoke weed and everything, maybe that's not the best combination. It's like, so what, these fucking morons who get drunk and go out shooting and end up shooting themselves or shooting their foot or filling up a friggin' car with tannerite and blowing it up, and then the car door almost comes and takes their head off and everything. Because alcohol is legal, that's somehow you get a pass as opposed to somebody who smokes a joint. And I mean, when I smoke, I don't, when I get high, the last thing I'm thinking about is, I want to go shooting. It's just, it's like, I get a load on it. I might be like, all right, let's go shooting, guys. And that's like the last thing I should be doing,
Well, I was talking to an anarchist last night about the same subject, and I can't remember how he worded it, but he was like, I'm drinking, and he was trying to say, like, it's okay if you smoke weed, but he was putting it down. And I was like, hold on a second, man. I'm like, you can't claim to be this great anarchist and then tell everyone that we all know all the reports are out there that show how safe marijuana is. And I went through with them, and I'm like, it's safer than alcohol. You know that, right? And yeah. I'm like, then why do you continue to look down on people? You say you don't care if they do, but you don't want to be associated with them. Meanwhile, we're talking, and you're drinking a rum and Coke.
Can I push back on you a little bit on that one?
Yes.
Yeah. My whole thing is, and I really learned this when a couple of years ago, when there was these left libertarians who were trying to not normalize sex work, but they were really intimating that you weren't a real libertarian or anarchist unless you celebrated sex work. And I don't, there are certain things. I put up with abortion, but I think it's one of the most evil things on the planet. I don't think people should be thrown in a cage for it, and I don't think the government should get involved with it. But I'm certainly, if someone tells me they have an abortion, I'm certainly not going to call them a hero. I don't think if somebody tells me, I don't think anyone should go to jail for weed and everything, but I think people who smoke weed, are losers. I mean, the first part of that's more important to me than the second part.
Oh, yeah. Like, everyone gets quite tied up with their own personal, opinions. And we get too far away from the principles a lot of the time because everyone's like, well, I think. It's like, well, it doesn't matter what you think. Like, do you think force should be used to make it so? Well, no. Okay, then. That's where that should end. Like, you can have your personal convictions, but leave them at the door before trying to attach policy to them, which we see far too often with people newer to the community. And it's understandable, but you gotta show a little bit of tough love and be like, well, does it really matter?
Yeah, I mean, the whole, to me, the most clear thing about that is prostitution. I mean, prostitution to me is something that should be legal. Sex work is work. There's that phrase, sex work is work. And sure, I mean, I absolutely believe that. But I wouldn't want my wife doing it. I wouldn't want my mother doing it. And if I had a daughter, I wouldn't want my daughter doing it. So even though I think it's legal and no one should go to jail for it, I'm not going to celebrate it. And I'm not going to pretend that I think it's a good thing for the person who's doing it, because it's just my opinion that it's not. That maybe it is for some people, like a Maggie McNeil, someone like that, maybe that is for her. I just don't think that. To me, I in my personal experience, I don't see how it could be good for. I mean, I've known prostitutes, I've known strippers who've done bachelor parties and stuff like that, and it's all affected them.
It's not a healthy thing to do. It's almost like saying, "Hey, look, you smoke cigarettes. That's fine. I think you should be able to smoke them, but you ain't bringing those in my house."
Yeah. I mean, no one has to sell it. If you're okay with it, if it's fine, you think it should be legal, that's fine. But you're not going to make me celebrate it. No one should have to. People should be tolerant of it. People should not want people to be thrown in cages for nonviolent actions. But you're not. But saying that someone has to celebrate it, that's not. To me, it's not a good idea. It's for years. Bob Murphy said this on a podcast, one of his first podcasts when he started his own. He said that for years and for decades, libertarians have told conservatives, look, we're not saying that you have to like marijuana. We're just saying make it legal. We're just saying that people shouldn't be thrown in a cage for this, just like people shouldn't have been thrown in a cage for alcohol during Prohibition. But no one was ever making the argument that they had to celebrate it. So that's where I come down on that. It's like, as long as you're not hurting another, as long as you're not violating somebody else's, person or property, you can do whatever you want. It's just, you don't have to tell me that, I have to say that it's a good thing or a great thing or something, to be happy about.
But on that note, I think that's something a lot of people get wrong about the anarchist and libertarian community. When they think, because we believe in these, like, I believe someone should be able to get, medicinal grade heroin. It doesn't mean I'm like, yes, heroin is such a great thing. Go and shoot up. I want you to, shoot up in front of your kids. Just, whenever. Enjoy yourself. Like, it's not that at all. I just don't think people should be thrown in cages for it. And I don't know what the best way to communicate that is to, people newer to the movement, disillusioned Republicans who are like, well, I believe in absolute gun rights and, I'm okay with marijuana legalization, but heroin, absolutely not. Like, I don't want to encourage that. And it's like, we're not encouraging it.
Well, I mean, they normally say that, if heroin's legal, kids are going to get a hold of it. That's, it's always, but, what I like to point out to, especially Second Amendment people is when they make fun of people when they make anti-gun arguments saying, what about the children? Well, be consistent when it comes to drugs.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
It's all well and good until it's the thing you care about. And then all of a sudden you can, make fun of everyone else. It's like, well, no, I mean, all these things, if there's the opportunity for a black market, it's all the same arguments. And people don't realize that. Yeah. I think that's what forced me to be consistent after being a conservative. It's like, oh, I'm an idiot.
And remember, Rothbard allows one deviation, so I think my deviation is abortion. So leave me alone. Leave me alone on that one.
The very libertarian answer. Leave me alone on that. Like, yeah, I respect it.
That's kind of our podcast stance on that topic.
What, abortion?
You just leave us alone. Don't ask.
Oh, okay. I was like, please don't. Gotta start on a
no.
In the last year, I've done podcasts on the three things that libertarians love to argue about. I mean, and I'm talking about viciously: abortion, borders, and intellectual property. And those three things will make people absolutely insane. It's usually, and it's best not to even bring that kind of stuff up. It's just, it's like going into an Irish bar in New York City. No religion, no politics. The sign's like right inside the front door,
Order some Jameson, shut up, enjoy yourself. God, even just hearing those three topics makes me want a Jameson.
I like to go into Irish bars and order Macallan's just to see the face.
Oh God! Ever the contrarian. just have to poke the bear wherever we go. Is that like? I just want to clarify for everyone here: is everyone like that? Does everyone have to fucking push the button in whatever they do?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
pretty much.
Absolutely.
God damn it! Why are we like this?
My dad was Puerto Rican, and I grew up in Irish bars. I mean, I know how to push the buttons better than anyone.
Oh man. Speaking of pushing buttons, what do you think's gonna get us to? So if it were to happen, what do you think's gonna make us go all out martial law? Let's go off the deep end. The way this is going, do you think anyone would do you think it's in their interest to, even not necessarily say the word martial law, but, instigate what would be martial law? Do you think it's in their interest, or do you think that's,
If it's going to happen, it's going to happen locally. Trump is not going to do it. All he cares about right now is getting reelected. But, I think the governor of Massachusetts made it illegal for more than 10 people to gather in one place in the last couple days. Yeah. It's the cops will come, and and do something about it. From what I've heard, Washington State's getting close to. I know a couple states have curfews now.
Yeah,
which doesn't make it doesn't make any sense, because in the middle of the night is when the least amount of people congregate out. I know that. I mean, the bars and everything. I have to give props to Disney World, because Disney World was like the last holdout, and I was like hoping today that when I looked online that they were still going to be open, but they finally decided to close and everything. I like the middle finger they were giving to everybody there for a while, but they finally caved and everything. But
damn it,
I mean,
evil corporation, like you could have done us one solid.
Damn you, mouse, you evil mouse.
Is Kid Rock still holding out?
I don't know. I lived in Florida for a really long time, and it's like Disney World closing is that's like a sign of the apocalypse. It really is.
The magic is gone. Load your guns.
Yeah, but I haven't really noticed anything here. I live just like right outside of Atlanta. The town I live in actually used to be part of Atlanta when I first moved here 10 years ago. But it's my wife and I went to a wing place and sat down and ate on Sunday. And the Kroger supermarket right by us is a 24-hour, and they reduced their hours from 8 to 9. So they're 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. That's one change I saw. But for the most part, like government services haven't closed down here, like driver's license office, the tag office, the title office, and everything. Those are still open as far as I know. So.
The DMV is like hell. It'll never close.
No, I did see one state. I believe they were closing all license, including driver's license. I can't remember if it was Jersey or Pennsylvania.
Did you see the notice out of Philadelphia where they weren't going to be, basically the police weren't going to be enforcing any crimes? I mean, like anything. And it's like, well, I hope you motherfuckers have guns, because that could get a little dicey. But look back to 1993 and roof Koreans, and learn something.
I think it's a good moment to use. Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say your piece from earlier about like New York's crime reduction.
Oh yeah, it's a good time to use like certain like mantras, like make the police obsolete and teach people like the training on how to do that. And like in New York, when the cops protested, they said that they were gonna do like they were gonna stop enforcing all these different crimes. Like the crime rate went down.
Yeah, that's happened a couple times. That was after the police were protesting their treatment after they murdered Eric Garner, and we're not going to police. We're not going to do broken window policing, and the crime rate went down. Imagine that. Imagine that would happen if the police aren't arresting people for nonviolent crimes. Truly amazing.
It's like, please keep protesting. Like. Yeah. Stomp your hearts out.
And I said,
even write some signs.
And I said 1993, but the LA riots were in 1992, actually. So
slipping, man. We thought that.
Oh no, it's alcohol and bong resin in my brain.
Hey, I mean that's the best excuse around, especially in this community. I think that's Graham's excuse for every podcast.
It's okay. Most of our followers weren't born until the 2000s anyway, so you just say the 90s.
So apparently Kid Rock folded, which is kind of that's pretty disappointing.
Well, from what I understand, it's really not like his restaurant. It's like one of those places where he, like Trump, he lends his name to it.
Oh,
he sold his name to it. So from what I understand, the real owner of the place was the one who was trying to, was holding out and everything. But yeah, I think he folded on Monday actually. But yeah, it's just,
weak.
I really want the Supreme Court versus the big ass honky tonk.
Yeah, that would have been a stellar headline. The Supreme Court versus what, Big Ass Honky Tonk?
Yeah, that's the name of the
I
virus.
can't even say that in my fucking accent. It just sounds so wrong. You know what's really annoying me right now is so speakeasies have become quite fashionable as of late, and you just know they're all like following orders and closing down as well, and that really pisses me off.
It's like a trend to be like that or something?
Yeah, you never been to one?
No.
Oh, anyone else been to a speakeasy bar?
We had, when I lived in Tampa, we had we called them bottle clubs. It was like most places, after a certain time, the bars would shut down, but then these bottle clubs would open up, and you would bring your own alcohol and everything like that. It was sort of like and it was unofficially open and everything, so it was sort of in the speakeasy. And you had to, like, if you brought in a 6-pack, you had to pay like $1 a bottle or something to the house, something like that. But that's the closest thing I've ever. I mean, I've like toured some old speakeasies in New York and everything, but like never been to like officially one that actually served its own alcohol.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, those bottle clubs sound like way more legit than what I'm on about. I'm talking about like so these are legitimate businesses, all licensed and proper good boys. But then they have like a door that you need a password to get into, and like they'll distribute on social media or like amongst sort of like upper class types or whatever it might be. And so
it sounds like some Eyes Wide Shut shit.
yeah, it's interesting. They're cool, but I don't know. Seeing that they're all abiding by these orders to shut down, it's like, oh, come on, guys, you have like the perfect model. Just have someone standing at the door, actually legitimately use your password, and then a bunch of guys turn up looking to shut you down, just like, no, sorry, we're closed.
Yeah, I'm really disappointed that a lot of places aren't being like, fuck you.
Yeah, because people's livelihoods are being killed right now. By arbitrary orders aren't doing much to help people.
I think the ones that are defying it are getting so much like hate on social media that it's like scaring people. It's kind of weird how many people just want everybody to fold and do exactly what they're told.
Good old government education.
Yeah, like the outraged crowd, you'd expect them to be like, hey, all these people, like, they can't pay their bills. Like, what are you doing? Like, fight the government, fight Trump, and keep on giving these people shifts and stuff so they can support their families. But no, they're like, oh, people are dying, like, shut down. What the fuck are these people doing?
Well, I think part of it is people are just so scared that they're seeing everywhere else close down, and they're like, well, if I don't, and it ever comes back that someone got the virus through me, my business is over. Like, I might be able to go a month with closing the doors, but the bad publicity would destroy me. Yeah. So it's the fear causing fear in people in just a horrible cycle.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Pete, do you see like a lot of similarities between the reaction to the virus and like how people reacted to like 9/11? I'm not sure how like cognizant of politics you were at that time.
Well, I mean, the markets are doing the same thing. The markets are going down. I think they had a circuit breaker on 9/11 too, where after it dropped 7%. I mean, they just cut trading that day. I think they cut short selling before they even cut trading. But I think personally, no, and I remember 9/11. I mean, I remember everything about that day. This is worse because, well, on 9/11, immediately, which is strange enough, they told you who did it. So you're like, okay, so we know the enemy. This is an enemy you can't see. This is an enemy that allegedly can infest people's bodies and not even, you wouldn't even know because they're like, they're asymptomatic. So people are just scared as shit. I mean, think about, if you want to know how people are dealing with this right now, think about the person who goes on social media and says, I'm not anti-vaccine, but I think people should have a choice. The reaction from somebody who just says that is, you want a new plague to start. you should be fucking dead. I mean, I've seen people get death threats.
Oh yeah.
Over this. So what is it? This thing that's going around that's killing a certain, a very narrow segment of the population, and not doing a very good job at it at all. It's just destined to make people insane. I mean, it is the amount of, like, around here, I know my traffic patterns. Well. Like, I'm off for the rest of the week, but it has nothing to do with the coronavirus. I was supposed to go to friggin' Mises Institute tomorrow, and that got canceled. I was supposed to be there for the next 3 days. But normally my day off is Wednesday, and I was driving around today just like I drive around every Wednesday morning, go to the chiropractor, go to the store, and everything like that. And it was just dead. I was everywhere that I would be, like, have to wait for a light to change for twice in order to get through. I was like, just drove right up to the light. Any place where there was like a little bit of bottleneck traffic, there's no traffic. I mean, just people are they're not leaving their houses. And I actually think it's a good thing, because it seems to me, because no one in Georgia has said stay home, people are doing this on their own. And that, to me, you can actually use that to make the argument that in the absence of government, that society would be self-ordering. That people would say, hey, there's something out there. I probably shouldn't leave the house. Somebody's, there's an illness going around, something like that. I mean, I would like to think that people are making those. Well, I mean, obviously there's no quarantine, there's no curfew here, so people are making that decision on their own, and I think that's actually a positive.
Absolutely. I mean, people, a lot of us, not a lot of us, but there's certain segments of the population that are just kind of waiting for to be told what to do, daddy government. And then, but when you see such an effect on traffic like that, and I mean, certain areas just like you see in England right now, like major cities, I think even in London, there's a particular station, Waterloo, which people arrive from all over the rural countryside to go into London to work, and it's just dead. And there hasn't been, to my knowledge, any like absolute orders to shelter in place or anything in England yet, but people are just doing it on their own. And
Dave Smith was telling me that, like, Grand Central Station, like all the platforms and everything, are dead, like even during the day, and those are, even at 4:00 in the morning, most of those have people on them, so yeah, I mean, I know that New York is, has been as strict on this, closing down schools before everyone else and everything. But I think even Andrew Cuomo was saying sort of libertarianish stuff the other day.
Oh God.
Yeah. I mean, I think that people are really looking at this and going, government can't save us. Government can't really do anything. I think that this is actually a genuine opportunity to win people over to our side. I mean, I really do think that. I mean, I've been working on people that, employees and everything for the past week and a half, 2 weeks, and they seem to be really picking up on what I'm saying.
Yeah, likewise. It's the perfect time in so many ways. Like, I mean, just the panic with firearms. All of a sudden, my poor girlfriend goes from like, oh, I'm a little bit nervous about learning to shoot, and now she's like, do you have your gun with you? She's like all for it. She's like, did you buy ammo? I'm like, yeah. Like, oh, okay, good. just overnight like that, people who are completely averse to that way of thinking are like, yeah, I should probably go and get a gun and learn how to use it in case things get crazy. And you see that in so many different factors of life right now. People are so willing to learn to be independent because no one's coming to save you. People are, like I said, realizing that quite roughly.
It's funny. I put on my calendar to go shooting tomorrow morning, but I'm not. I have to find out if the friggin' range is going to be open. Oh, I didn't even think to check that because I'm like, having a few days off and everything. I'm like, I gotta get some shooting in and everything. But shit, I don't even know. I'm gonna have to check to see if the range is open.
No, I'm sure you have plenty of ammo, but if you've checked ammo prices recently, you might want to hang on to it.
I have about 25,000 rounds of.
Okay, you might be all right.
I'm doing all right. I have about 13 to 14,000 rounds of 5.56 and 2.23, and about 12,000 rounds of 9mm. I'd be okay for a while.
All right, I'm not worried about you, Pete, anymore. Like, we're good. But, I don't know if you've seen. So there's this thing going around in the gun community right now. Cheaper than dirt, charging like I think $800 for a case of.
It was like $9 plus shipping.
Yeah. And of course, this brings up conversation of price gouging and stuff, and I think that's a particularly extreme case because they're just bastards. Like during the magazine ban talk during the Obama years, they were charging like $100 per PMag or something. They're just pricks. But with the Amazon hand sanitizer stuff and ammo and toilet paper and stuff, people are kind of. I'm seeing things go both ways. Like some people are like, well, no, price gouging does make sense. And then other people are like, these bastards, like capitalists, you sons of bitches, just want everyone to, be dirty or to not have ammo to protect themselves and die and all this shit. So I think it's going to be a real rough wake up one way or the other. Like some people are going hardcore status, like the government needs to be on top of this, and whoever gets elected next will be the absolute daddy and will not let this happen again. And then other people are splitting right the opposite way, heading towards us like, yeah, government didn't do shit.
Well, if they weren't broke commies, they'd have friggin' ammo in their closet waiting, or in their safe, waiting for a rainy day. But, I guess when you do that much meth and, live in your mom's basement, I guess it's kind of hard to afford ammo.
Yeah. When you're a quote unquote prepper and you have like 100 rounds of 5.56 and you think that's enough, like,
yeah,
you might deserve to be a little bit worried right now to be a prick about it.
It was funny when I went to the grocery store on Saturday morning, there was no water. And, I was like, and I wasn't going to hoard. I was just going for my normal amount that I would get on shopping on a Saturday morning. And then later in the day, my wife went to the same place and it was like water everywhere. But I'm one of those people that I have about 2-3 months worth of food and water set aside just in case bullshit happens, and Jack Spirko from the Survival Podcast really helped me with that, really got my head in tune with that. And being able to put water aside is not very difficult. You use a gallon jug or anything like that, fill it with water, drop a couple of drops of bleach in it or iodine or something like that, and you can sit it there and let it just stay for a while. Or you could be like me and get the 5-gallon ones that you put on the water cooler at work and everything, and just fill closets with it.
Yeah.
Well, those are so much easier to handle than doing all the little bottles and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I keep jinxing. Have you guys noticed the types of stuff people are buying from the stores? Like
that's been
all of
quite telling.
All of like the tuna and the peanut butter and the jerky and the nuts are left, but like everything that expires in a week is gone.
All the freezer meals and shit.
Yeah.
Every time there's like a threat of power outages from like the remnants of a Florida hurricane or something here, people buy eggs, milk, and bread. And I'm like, are you going to be fucking eating French toast for the next? What the hell are you doing? I mean,
that's a lot of dead people.
Yeah, it's like, if the power goes out, I mean, the bread will be fine, but the eggs, because of the horrible way we do eggs in this country, and of course the milk it's just makes no fucking sense to me. I mean, yeah. I lived in South Florida for a long time, and I had to deal with the brunt of hurricanes. I was down there for Hurricane Andrew, which was the worst hurricane hit Florida in the last 100 years or so, and we knew that you got cans of SpaghettiOs, cans of beefaroni, all this shit that you didn't even have to heat up to eat, came pre-cooked. and then you got your water, and then you got your Jack Daniels, and you had your essentials, and people just don't know. I don't know what the hell people are doing here. It's just
my thing with that is I think people are buying stuff they like and not looking at survival. Like when I'm thinking about survival, I'm buying canned protein and carbohydrates. Whether I personally like the food or not, my feeling is if I don't use it, I'll give it to a canned food drive. If I have to use it, I got some hot sauce. I'm going to soak that stuff and I'm going to survive through it. But I'm not going to have a fridge full of rotting meat and produce that can't be used.
I mean, I have like 2 weeks worth of MRE style power bars. Now, I never want to eat those. I mean, I think expiration.
Please don't.
I think the expiration date on those is like 2050 or something like that. It's like, but I don't want to have to subsist on those, It's like, but
well, the bright side of that is you won't need to use your toilet paper, your precious toilet paper, for a long time.
Yeah,
probably until 2050.
Well, the whole toilet paper thing was, I went last Wednesday. I went to Kroger, and they had toilet paper. The following day, my wife went to Kroger, and the toilet paper aisle was completely devastated. But I've been going to the Korean market, and that's where my stash of toilet paper came from. Every time I went to it, I grabbed a couple packages, and now we have trading. We have barter stuff just in case it comes down to it.
I believe it's now called white gold.
Yeah, I just don't get that one. And Gene Epstein did the best. In his loft in New York. He has a bathroom and his wife has a bathroom. They both have bidet toilet seats, so it's like you don't even need toilet paper.
Goddamn Europeans. Flexing.
So yeah, and I looked on Amazon, and those are sold out.
Everyone wised up.
Yeah, they're really comfortable too, and most of them are heated.
Well, I'm sold. we need to get a sponsor for the show that's showing bidet toilet seats.
I'm sold.
There you go. Oh man.
I think we forgot to get your origin story, like how you became a libertarian.
Yeah, we
totally do that towards the end.
But it's so boring.
Well, you're a Ron Paulian, right?
Yeah,
I keep on saying that. Is that a thing?
Yeah, it is. 2007. I don't think I was a war hawk, but I was definitely somebody who, I don't support the war, but I got to support the troops kind of person.
Yeah.
And then, I heard Ron Paul saying the best way to support the troops is to bring them home, and the reason they hate us is because we're over there. And it all just kind of snapped. Everything just fell into place in my thinking. And I ordered one of his books, Foreign Policy of Freedom, which is basically like speeches he had done on the House floor. The one where he predicts 9/11 is going to happen and everything like that. And then in the back, it mentioned the Mises Institute. So I started ordering books off the Mises Institute. But so I did that studied that for a little while. And then when Tom Wood, after the crash in 2008, Tom put out Meltdown, which explained how, and he did it very quick. I mean, he wrote that book really fast after that, 2008. And I read that, and I read it, and then I read it again. And then I understood economics. And as soon as I understood economics, I got economics in one lesson, and I read that. And I actually retardedly read Man, Economy, and State, which is just, I mean, for someone who's been a libertarian for a year, that's quite the undertaking. But that's pretty much what brought me over to this side. And it's just boring. As so many people that I know, that's the same exact story. Not the same exact, but it's like, hey, I saw Ron Paul in the debate go after that, because everybody. I mean, I think even people who were voting for Rudy Giuliani realized he was just a goblin. and just a disgusting human being. And to see Ron go after him, I'm like, wow, this country doctor from Texas is just absolutely destroying this scumbag mayor from New York. It's like, even if I don't agree with him, I got to think this is cool, but I also agreed with him. So, that was nice. And you want to know something really cool? And this floors me. And I don't even know if I've said this on a podcast before, but I'm going to be one of the speakers at Ron Paul's 85th birthday this year.
Oh, nice.
Congratulations.
Yeah, to me, it's like when I got the phone call inviting me for that, my hands were shaking. I was like, that thing, hashtag literally shaking. It's like, It was like literally shaking.
I'm sure you have good company too.
Yeah. So Jeff Dice called me and he's like, I'm like, he's like, pay for everything. And I'm like, I can't pass this.
I would pay you to let me.
Yeah. Really. Because as soon as he said it in my head, I'm going, okay, yeah, no problem. I'll have the Sky Miles to do this. This won't be an issue and everything. And then it's like, oh yeah. And also, it's, you get, we'll pay for it. I'm like, holy crap, because it's like, the guy's my hero. He's been on my podcast 3 or 4 times. And, I've hung out with him at the Mises Institute. I've been to his house in Texas and everything. And just to be invited to do this, it was, just unbelievable. It was so.
It's an honor.
I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and it's so far away, and I'm already like, okay. So I'm outlining my speech, and I'm like, okay, this is the story I want to tell. This is the story I want to tell, and everything. So it's like one of those things where it's very rare nowadays that like I got to hang out with Andrew Napolitano last year at Mises University. And he's just a regular guy and everything. So I meet like all these people, and it doesn't really affect me anymore. But it's like when it comes to Ron Paul, it's like my hands start shaking.
I can hear it in your voice, man.
Yeah, I can't wait. That's going to be so much fun. He's just such a nice guy. Just one of the nicest people I've ever met. Yeah.
There's
like
something
one of
very
our
telling.
recent I think the Women's Day podcast that we did, I told them all that I would violate the map if Ron Paul ran again. This is like, I don't care. I'm voting.
Well, I say that there's only one thing that's going to get me to vote this year. I will vote for Donald Trump if he gives clemency to Ross Ulbricht.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Man, I'd deal with the devil if ever I've heard one, but
hey, let me tell you something. Or if someone wants to offer me money to vote for somebody, I'll do it. My vote can be bought. That's literally how much I think that vote is worth. It's like, so you give me $2,000 to vote for your guy? Sure, why not? I don't care. Sure, I don't care. It's fucking stupid, just ridiculous thing that doesn't matter. So
yeah.
Send them my way with the paycheck.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, no kidding. I probably would too, actually.
Yeah. Is it going to be the blue puppet or the red puppet?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll take $2,000 to vote for your guy.
No, but seriously, man, I said that, and I know a bunch of people who've said that. They've said that if he were to grant clemency to Ross, they'd vote for him. And I would. I'll keep my promise on that one.
Oh.
That guy needs to get out of prison after getting to know his mom. It's like once you get to, it's sad from a distance, but once you get to know his mom, I can't talk to her without crying. I just really can't. That's how much it affects me.
Like we play a commercial before every one of our podcasts for the petition.
Yeah.
For people to.
She's one of the greatest ladies I know, man. She
really is amazing. She's so strong.
Yeah. She's she travels so much doing this. She makes herself sick all the time and everything. Just nonstop doing what she has to do and everything, doing everything that she can. And if I did what Ross did, I think my mom would have abandoned me.
Oh damn!
I think my mom would have been like, "Oh, he fucked up." Yeah.
I think about that a lot myself. I'm like, how many mothers are strong enough to see through the charges and be so involved with the fight to free your kid despite what they say about him?
Yeah.
Takes a hell of a person.
It's that scumbag Chuck Schumer, man. He just brought the hammer down on him and, got him in front of a judge got Ross in front of a judge that, he had appointed to the bench and everything. And it was a conspiracy right from the start. I mean, Chuck Schumer is a total scumbag. I mean, all you have to do is go back to the 1995 Waco hearings. And some of the statements that he made about, these witnesses are trying to contradict things that we know are true. And it's like, when you think about that statement, it's like, but they're witnesses. You're calling them witnesses. And yet you're saying you don't believe what these witnesses are saying because you already have this thing made up in your head. And he's a disgusting animal that, there are so many people that I can think of that, I wish hell existed for.
VIP spot.
I guess really quick for the podcast, we do this commercial for Ross before every podcast, and it never fails. Somebody comments, "Oh, he put out hits on people." What would you say to this?
I can give you a link right now to a YouTube video where Lynn and the person who Ross allegedly put a hit out on are sitting there talking, and he says, "No, it wasn't Ross who did that."
Oh, we'll absolutely put that in the show notes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll put it in the chat right now.
Hell, maybe we should put that at the start of the video instead of the or like cut up a new version of the ad that we run.
Oh yeah, just add that right on there.
Oh yeah, I mean we do hear it far too often. We really should do a full dedicated episode to the case. It's just insane to me that it's still going on, that people are still fighting for it.
It's an 8-minute video. Curtis Green and Lynn Ulbricht interview. And Curtis Green is the guy who allegedly Ross took a hit out on. And Curtis Green will flat out say, no, that wasn't him. So let me put this in the chat right now. Boom. It's right there. It's in the chat.
There we go. Yep, that will be in the show notes for all the naysayers who, I don't know why you're like, come on, guys, use some critical thought.
Yeah, because, and I especially love in the age of people running around calling everything fake news, how when you they have all these beliefs that are based off of the news. It's like, oh, all these Trumpers. Oh, everything's fake news. Well, Waco, they fired first, right? No. Well, how do you know that? Because the news told me. I thought it was the fake news.
You see that a lot in the Fox News crowd.
Oh yeah, those people are total scum.
They're the first ones that yell fake news and then go, "Well, Fox said it, so it's got to be true."
Well, I mean, and I don't know if Fox even existed in '93. It might have just been CNN. But yeah, I mean, it's so easy. Just 1997 documentary, Waco Rules of Engagement. And then a year later, Waco and New Revelation, when all the FBI agents came forward and said, this was a cover-up. Yeah, they went there. The ATF went there to kill everybody. Oh, really? Huh? Yeah. Okay. Sure. Yeah. It's like, I love pointing out to people that it's like, well, the ATF went there because, he was dangerous. Really? Then why did 2 ATF agents go shooting with him at a shooting range 3 days before the raid? And if he was such a madman, why didn't he kill the 2 ATF agents while he was there? And why did one of the ATF agents hand him his gun to shoot? Talking about David Koresh. Why did one ATF agent who had been going in and out of the house for months come out and tell his the people above him, there's nothing going on in there. There's nothing that we can, there's no evidence at all. And then his bosses go, "Are you at Branch Davidian now? Did they turn you? Why was it called Operation Showtime?"
Yeah. That doesn't sound like they're trying to save any lives there.
Yeah. Why did they shoot the dogs first? And the dogs that were in a pen, a full-grown dog and 5 puppies. Why did they shoot them first? Why did they fire through the front door first? Why didn't they just, if children were being abused, what's the best thing to do? Go there and kill them?
Well, I mean, they did stop the abuse.
Yeah, it clearly stopped the abuse. Yeah. When the fire started, how come no one tried to save anybody? After the fire burnt the whole building down, why did FBI agents take pictures on the rubble, like trophy pictures? Why did the ATF pull down, run their flag up the flagpole after the fire had burnt the building down? It was an occupying army. It was a conquering army. People just believe what they want to believe. And where did they get who told them this? The government. You believe the government? The same people who said there were WMDs in Iraq? Same people who said babies were being pulled out of incubators in Kuwait? These are the people you believe? The people who shot in 1992 shot a woman in the face while she was holding her baby? FBI snipers, the hostage rescue team shooting alleged hostages in the face? These are the people you believe? The fuck is wrong with you?
What's most disturbing about this is it's a lot of people who are already in our community who question cops, who question government, but then they still get hung up on these official reports. They're terrified of cops raiding their homes, but then they hear the official police report and they're like, oh, well, it shows the guy was an abuser, or the guy was, a pedophile, or the guy was whatever the fuck it might be. He was involved with drugs. Oh, well, that's fine then. Okay, I understand it.
Or they believe it instantly.
Yeah, it's some people they're not quite done yet. They need a few more minutes. A few more minutes in the oven, but that's not quite correct.
But I thought it's fake news.
Yeah.
One of the things I struggle with the most is there's a lot of libertarians who say, look, naturally, the people that we would want to attract to libertarianism is right-wingers because allegedly they already believe in freedom. I have such utter contempt for right-wingers. I really do. Because they're just, they don't even lick the boot. They deep-throat it. It's just so amazing.
The leftists are honest with saying how much they love the authority and the government.
Yeah.
Where the right-wingers tell you they hate the government, but back them in everything they do.
Yeah, one thing that I've been doing lately is telling right-wingers, you're supposed to be on our side. You're supposed to be for liberty. What happened? What went wrong?
The Arizona Second Amendment rally was quite depressing when I saw MAGA hat wearing conservatives taking pictures with the cops and thanking them for their service as we're protesting protesting for our Second Amendment rights. It's like, guys, the fuck are you doing?
Arizona cops, like the one that shot Daniel Shaver while he was begging for his life, crying. These people.
And I bet they don't even know the name Daniel Shaver.
These people are such scum. I swear. That's why I think I've been doing this a lot this year, really getting into it. But I think secession is the only way towards liberty. We have to have freedom of association to separate from scum like that. From people who would just fucking, they just, their breath smells like kiwi. Boot pop. I mean, just screw you. These are the same people. You go on a gun forum. Okay. I spent a lot of years on a gun forum here in Georgia. It's one of the biggest gun forums in the country, actually, probably one of the biggest gun forums in the world. And there are cops on there that will tell you, buy a gun, learn how to use it, because if your house gets broken into or something happens, we're not going to be there to save you. And then the first negative thing you say about a cop, they're like, if you ever get in trouble, you call a crackhead. I thought you just told me that if I ever get in trouble to have a gun and protect myself. But you all of a sudden you've turned into an NPC where you have like this set thing that you say, like in some video game, like, a non-thinking, a non-player character. What the hell is wrong with these people?
My favorite comment I hear from them is, "Oh, you hate cops? Quit believing the liberal media. Think for yourself." It's like, dude, you don't read many headlines, do you?
The guys that run the Free Thought Project are not liberals. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, and they're the best aggregator of police abuses. I mean, I can't. There are some days I just refuse to go to the Free Thought Project because it will just boil my blood. And I have to be able to sleep at night. This isn't helping.
Oh yeah, we keep our blood boiling in the eMilitia. We've got our co-host Bootlickers Beware, who was trying to join earlier. He consistently posts headlines of convicted cops, raping, stealing, killing, abusing.
Oh yeah, he posts a lot. It took him a while to accept my request, but I finally got on Instagram.
Oh
yeah.
He's a bit of a boomer. He probably didn't know how.
He posts some good stuff, and I love looking at the comments and seeing the Shinola breaths just friggin' raging.
You can really see like a progression of different, like people in all sorts of different states, from outright Republicans going like, this is all bullshit, it's all liberal lies, to outright anarchists who are like, dude, I'm so fucking sick of seeing this.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's just like, oh, this is just driving me crazy.
Like, you see the headline and you already know what the article is going to say because there's so many of them and they follow the same exact script for every one.
Yeah, allegedly a cop abuses, allegedly a cop rapes. It's like, okay. So I'm starting to see a pattern.
Cop has illegal sex with a 13-year-old girl.
Yeah, illegal sex. Like,
he raped her?
5 years probation. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. Illegal sex with a 13-year-old. Anyone else, it's friggin', pedophilia or child rape.
And they tokenize those as examples that the system works. They'll be like,
yeah, like,
we care about bad cops. Look, we prosecuted this guy. It's like, okay.
Yeah, you know some, quote unquote good cop is being fired for reporting it if that's the case. Getting muscled out into a unwanted retirement.
That's one of those things that I wonder. I never want to give a cop the benefit of the doubt, but when I see these cops that are like arrested in their department for like child porn on their computer, I wonder if they're like the good cop and somebody just planted it there.
It's so fucking hard to tell.
It makes me wonder because, I mean, nowadays, like the CIA doesn't even kill people anymore. They just plant child porn on your computer.
It's so much worse.
And then and then it's like, oh, okay, then
Yeah, my life's ruined. I might as well put the bullet in my own fucking mouth.
Yeah, and I've told people that before. I've said if I ever kill myself or child porn ends up on my computer, it wasn't me. I'm being set up. All right, I mean, I'm sure I'm on plenty of lists by now.
On my old Twitter, like 2 months before Cody Wilson was arrested, I posted and I was just like, Cody Wilson is going to be arrested for something weird, like some weird sex crime. And then that happened, and I was just like, that's set up. We all knew that was coming.
Yeah.
It's just predictable, and yet there's nothing you can do to really, like, even when we preempt it, when we're like, oh yeah, this is coming, and then it happens, we all just kind of sit and go, yeah, I got it right. Like, fuck me.
I had him on my podcast not long before that.
Cody Wilson.
Yeah, but kind of saw that coming,
Absolutely.
Anyone who's effective.
I gotta get some sleep, guys.
No worries.
Well, thanks for coming on.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, man. It was a lot of fun. Thanks. Yeah, I like to. This was probably the most informal kind of thing that I've done in a while. So.
We do like our group recreational bitching.
Yeah. that works for me. It's I did 2 interviews today, and both for my podcast, and both of them were, the first one was like, got to be serious, got to take this all serious. The second one loosened up a little bit more and everything. So it's nice to come on here and just, bitch.
Yeah, you're welcome to stay in our Discord too. We often do things like the MAGA challenge, and then like dating advice on Valentine's Day. Just like
all sorts
really
of
dumb
autistic
episodes,
libertarian nonsense.
They're really fun, so you're welcome to stay in
libertarian.
and join.
Libertarian men and even some libertarian women definitely need dating advice.
that was the goal. Good. It's like, guys, leave the fedora at home, please.
Jesus.
Shave the neck beard. All right. Well, thanks a lot for coming on, man. And for everyone.
Do your plugs.
Yes, I was about to do one quickly because I was just listening to your econ episode, and I'm sure that's something on everyone's minds right now. So check out Pete's show, Free Man Beyond the Wall, and the bonus episode recently on econ. It's if you're not too hot on your econ, it's a good everyman's guide.
Yeah, we try to do that when Per and I get together. We try and get it down as simple as possible. And him being a professor, I think he's very easy to understand when he's talking about talking about econ, and he's also he's a stone cold agorist, man.
I love it.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
His little sarcastic quips, I was like, yes.
yeah. And what's funny is a lot of people don't, I guess just because, his Swedish demeanor, a lot of people don't pick up on the fact that he's being sarcastic.
See, I'm fellow Eurotrash, so I was like, yes. you're speaking my language, man.
All right, guys. I loved it. Take care.